Hello students, we'll start today the nutrition in human being. As you know students, we take food from outside. The food is taken through our mouth, it is digested, then absorbed and assimilated inside our body. And to do all these activities, that you know that the 5 steps of nutrition are there, all the 5 steps take place inside our body. And to do these steps or to these functions are done by a special system present in our body, which is known as human digestive system. So if you can see that diagram is here, that human digestive system, if I will divide this digestive system into mainly 2 parts. One is that alimentary canal and digestive glands. So our digestive system consists of one alimentary canal, another digestive glands. And what is alimentary canal? The alimentary canal is a long tube-like structure, pipe-like structure, which starts from the mouth and it ends with the anus. So from mouth to anus, a long pipe is there present in our body, which is known as alimentary canal. The different parts of the alimentary canal are named differently, and digestive glands are there. Along with this alimentary canal, some glands are also present, which gives some digestive juice which help in digestion. So the alimentary canal, if you divide the different parts of alimentary canal, it starts with mouth. You know that this is mouth. Then second, that is called buccal cavity or oral cavity, this one. Then it is pharynx. We'll read it. The pharynx is the part. This part is called, this part is called pharynx. Then that is food pipe, which is also known as oesophagus. Number 5, this is the stomach. Then the stomach, after stomach, small intestine is there. Then after small intestine, this is large intestine. Then the last part is called anus. So again I am repeating, this is mouth, this is buccal cavity, this part is called buccal cavity. This is buccal cavity. Then the pharynx is, already I have shown it. Food pipe, this is food pipe. Then stomach, this part is stomach. Then this is small intestine, this is large intestine, this is anus. But the small intestine, if you find, the small intestine, it is a very long tube. It is again divided into 3 parts actually. One is duodenum, another part is called jejunum, and the last part is called ileum. Duodenum, jejunum and ileum we will discuss later. The large intestine is also divided into 2 parts actually. It is divided into 2 parts. One is called colon and the last part is called rectum. Means this part is rectum actually and this part is colon. And the digestive glands, there are actually 3 types of digestive glands are there. One is salivary glands, second liver, and third pancreas. So 3 digestive glands are there which are present in the digestive system, and the different parts of the alimentary canal are named there. So this is all about the structure of our digestive system. But then we'll read how this process of digestion takes place. So we'll start from the mouth, because you take the food through the mouth. Inside the mouth, what happens? Inside the mouth, the digestion or breaking down of food takes place by two ways. One is physical digestion, means you have teeth. The teeth break down the food into smaller particles, that is the physical digestion. And inside our mouth, one liquid is there which we call as saliva. You know that your mouth is always wet because of the saliva secreted, and this saliva is secreted by the salivary glands. You know that this is the buccal cavity. Here the different glands are there which are called salivary glands. Actually 3 pairs of salivary glands are there, means total 6 salivary glands. They secrete the juice to the mouth, and these salivary glands secretes, the 3 pairs of salivary glands are there. The 3 pairs salivary glands secretes saliva, and this saliva has very great role in the digestion because the saliva contains an enzyme called salivary amylase. The enzyme name is salivary amylase, and this salivary amylase, what it does, it breaks down the starch into sugar. Starch to sugar. It means starch is a very complex and a big molecule. With the help of salivary amylase, the starch is broken down into sugar, and this is done by the saliva. So that is why in our mouth both type of digestion takes place, physical digestion as well as chemical digestion. It means when starch is broken down into sugars by the salivary amylase, it is a chemical reaction. So chemical digestion takes place by the help of enzyme, which are also known as biocatalyst. This salivary amylase is present in saliva, which breaks down the starch into sugar. You know, students, sometimes what happens when you take some rice, raw rice into your mouth and chew it for 2 minutes, or you can take the parched rice and or wheat, any grains you take, and continue chewing for 2 minutes. You will find some sweetness is you are tasting by your tongue. That sweetness actually comes from sugars, because when you chew it for a long time, the salivary amylase breaks down the starch present in that food item like rice, and it breaks down into sugar, and when sugars are formed, then we feel sweet taste. Starch, they do not taste sweet, but hurriedly what we do, we take the food and we eat it. It goes to the food pipe, so we cannot find out the sweetness. But if you chew it for a long time, then you will find the sweetness. It is due to the sugars converted from starch. Okay, so this is all about the mouth, the physical digestion by teeth, chemical digestion by salivary amylase. After the digestion starts from the mouth, from mouth then it goes to food pipe. So this is the food pipe, you know. Students, you see here it is a very complex structure. This part from nose, the air also goes like this, and here the food is going like this. So this is a point where both air and food both have a common passage, same path through which food is also passed, air is passed. So what happens here actually, what happens here, one cartilage, one you can say one covering is there, which is known as epiglottis, which will read in respiratory system. This epiglottis do not allow the food to enter into the windpipe. This is the windpipe, and when the food passes through this pharynx, this cartilage or this cover stops the entry point of windpipe, and the food is simply passes to the food pipe. So to prevent the entry of food into the windpipe, there is a covering called epiglottis. So now the food enters into the food pipe. So inside the food pipe, no secretion takes place, so no enzymes are there inside it. Simply the food passes from mouth to stomach through the food pipe. But again, the problem comes that it is not simply a pipe that you eat the food and simply through the gravitational force it will goes to the stomach. Not like that. If it is there, then if you inverted, means you know that when you do the asana, sirsasana, when your legs are up and head is down, so all the things will come down, but it does not take place because the food travels through the food pipe. Not only the food pipe actually, travel through all the part of the alimentary canal by a special contraction of the muscles present in the alimentary canal, and that type of movement is called peristaltic movement or peristalsis. So student, that word I am telling, peristaltic movement or peristalsis. So what does it mean? That when the food passes through the food pipe or alimentary canal or other part of the alimentary canal, it passes or it goes through a rhythmic contraction of muscles present in the food pipe or alimentary canal, and this type of movement is only found in the muscles present in the alimentary canal, and this type of movement is called peristaltic movement or peristalsis. So peristalsis actually taking place through food pipe and other part of the, through even the stomach, even the small intestine, even the large intestine. So because the food has to pass through this tube to anus, and through the peristaltic movement it passes through the different parts of the alimentary canal and finally reaches to the anus. Okay. So in oesophagus or food pipe, there is no digestion takes place. Simply the food comes to stomach. Then what happens inside the stomach? So now we'll read that what happens inside the stomach. Inside the stomach, actually, there are several glands present inside the inner lining of stomach, which are called gastric glands. The gastric glands, many small gastric glands are present inside the stomach, and these gastric glands secrete a juice known as gastric juice. Juice means a liquid which actually secreted by these glands, and gastric juice is a digestive juice. It contains three things. It contains one, HCl, hydrochloric acid. The gastric juice contains three things. The first one, hydrochloric acid, or we normally write the formula HCl. Second, a enzyme called pepsin enzyme, and the third is mucus. So these three things are present inside the gastric juice, and every part of the gastric juice have a definite role. What they do, you see that acid is secreted inside the gastric juice. Inside the stomach, gastric juice secreted, so HCl is present inside the stomach. This HCl, it does the two functions. The first function, actually the HCl does two functions. The first function, what it does, it kills the bacteria. It kills the bacteria present in the ingested food. So when we eat the food, sometimes the microbes also enter into through our food, and when the food goes to stomach, inside the stomach HCl is there, and HCl kill the bacteria. That's why we do not fall disease every time. Then the second function it does, that hydrochloric acid HCl, it makes the food acidic. It makes the food acidic. Why it makes the food acidic? Because when acid HCl is mixed with the food, then it becomes acidic food. And in acidic food, this pepsin enzyme will work properly. You know, this is when the enzyme break down the food. It is a chemical reaction, and to you know that for any chemical reaction the condition is there. So when pepsin will break down the food, it needs that the medium, the surrounding should be acidic, and that is why the HCl makes the food acidic, and after that the pepsin enzyme starts to break the food. These are the two functions of the hydrochloric acid. Then if we go to pepsin, what the pepsin does, you know that enzyme normally break down the food, but the pepsin enzyme, what it breaks down the protein part of the food, proteins, into amino acids. Means the proteins present in the food is broken down to amino acids by the pepsin enzyme. Again I am repeating, in saliva, salivary amylase enzyme is present, which breaks down the starch into sugar, whereas the pepsin enzyme is present in gastric juice inside stomach, which breaks down proteins into amino acids. This is the role of pepsin enzyme. Then what it the mucus does? Actually you think that if acid, you know that acid is very dangerous. When acid falls on your skin, what happens? It burns. So you think that if HCl acid is present in our stomach, then what will happen? Our stomach wall will burn out, but still we are surviving. So how it happens? It is due to this mucus. That mucus, what it does, it prevents or protects the wall, the inner wall of stomach. It protects the inner wall of stomach from the acid, because you know that what happens inside the stomach, the mucus forms a thick layer like this. So think that this is mucus. So the mucus make a layer. So due to this layer, the HCl acid cannot touch with the skin or the wall of the stomach. Between the wall of the stomach and HCl acid, there is mucus. So mucus does not allow the acid to touch with the wall of the stomach. So that is why it the HCl cannot burn or corrode the wall. This is the work of mucus. So again, just recapitulation I am telling that gastric juice, stomach, inner wall of the stomach contains gastric glands. Gastric glands secrete gastric juice. Gastric juice has three things: hydrochloric acid, pepsin enzyme, mucus. Hydrochloric acid has two functions. It kills the bacteria in the ingested food. Then it makes the food acidic so that pepsin enzyme can work. Then pepsin enzyme, what they do, it breaks down the protein part of the food into amino acid, and then mucus is actually protecting the inner wall of the stomach from the action of acid. This takes place inside the stomach, all these things. Then we go to next part, that is small intestine. Actually from this the food passes here to small intestine. So before it is passing actually here and here, when the food is actually going in the forward direction, there is a valve which is called actually sphincter. So one word is there, it is called sphincter. Sphincter is a substance or a structure which actually allow the food to move forward but does not allow the food to pass backward. So it means the food when passes from food pipe to stomach, the food will not go again back. So there is a sphincter here, and similarly when the food is passes to the stomach to small intestine, it does not again go back. So there is a sphincter also here which is known as pyloric sphincter. Here also a sphincter is there, that is called pyloric sphincter. What the sphincter does? It does not allow the food to pass from small intestine to stomach. Okay, then when the food is come to the small intestine is a very important part of the digestive system. Why I am telling about that? The small intestine has two main functions. Actually take place in small intestine. In small intestine, actually complete digestion takes place. The food is completely digested inside the small intestine, and second is absorption of food. So these two things actually taking place inside the small intestine. That is why the small intestine is the longest part of the alimentary canal. If you will find the length of all the part, the greatest length will be in small intestine. Why? Because these two things it has to do. To do complete digestion means complete breaking down of food takes place inside the small intestine, and to do this, three type of digestive juice present in small intestine. In small intestine, you know digestive juice, what juice means? A liquid. Digestive juice means some liquid which help in digestion. So three different digestive juice come to small intestine to complete the digestion of food. So what are the three type of digestive juices? Three types of digestive juices complete the digestion, and the first one is actually bile juice. The bile juice is actually, this is the liver, you know, this is liver. It is present just toward the right side of the stomach. See, this liver actually secretes the juice which is called bile juice, and bile juice is actually what happens, it is secreted by liver, it is stored in gallbladder. This part is actually, this is the gallbladder. And gallbladder, what is its function? Gallbladder temporarily stores the bile juice. The bile juice is secreted by the liver, then it is temporarily stored in gallbladder, and then from gallbladder the bile juice is coming to the small intestine. So bile juice is given by liver. Then what is the role of bile juice? What it does? The bile juice actually does one function which is known as emulsification of fat. What is the meaning of emulsification? You know that bile juice contains some salts which are known as bile salts. It breaks down the large fat molecules into small globules. This process is actually not a chemical process, it is simply a physical process. The bile juice, when act on the fat molecule, large fat molecules, then these fat molecules breaks into small globules. This process is known as emulsification of fat, which is done by bile juice. I am giving an example. that when you will the bath soap, you know, the soap you use in for bathing, that soap if you put inside water, and after 1 hour if you see that it will break down into small particles. So that is called emulsification of soap. So exactly what happens when bile juice is act on the fat molecules, it also break down to form small globules. This is known as emulsification of fat. This is the role of bile juice. Then another juice is secreted, which is known as pancreatic juice. The pancreatic juice is secreted. It is coming from liver, and pancreatic juice is coming from pancreas. You know, this is the pancreas. This part is pancreas, which is present just below the stomach. The pancreas secretes pancreatic juice, and this pancreatic juice is also coming to the small intestine. Then what is the role of pancreatic juice? What this juice, this digestive juice actually contains 3 types of enzymes. The pancreatic juice contains 3 types of enzyme. The number 1 is called pancreatic amylase. Pancreatic amylase. And second is called trypsin. TRY. Trypsin enzyme. And the third one is lipases. These are the 3 different enzymes. These are enzymes. Enzymes, you know, the enzymes, what they do, they break down the particular component of the food into simple forms. They are chemically they break actually. So the pancreatic amylase actually they break down the starch into sugar. The starch part of the food breaks down by the pancreatic amylase into sugar. Trypsin also breaks down proteins into amino acids. And lipase actually breaks fats into fatty acid and glycerol. It means pancreatic amylase and salivary amylase present in the salivary gland both have same function. They break down the starch into sugar. Trypsin enzyme and pepsin enzyme present in stomach, gastric juice. The pepsin enzyme and trypsin enzyme both break down proteins into amino acids, and lipase breaks down fats into fatty acid and glycerol. Fats when break down by lipases, 2 products are formed, fatty acid and glycerol. So what happens? This pancreatic juice almost complete the digestion process. And as I have told, the 3 types of digestive juice are there. One is bile juice from liver, pancreatic juice from pancreas, and the third type of juice is called intestinal juice. Intestinal juice, which is secreted from small intestine. The wall of small intestine, it also secrete one juice called intestinal juice, and the intestinal juice also contains several enzymes, and these enzymes finally break down all the components of the food. Means normally the 3 main components are there: the carbohydrate or starch, proteins and fats. So finally all the enzymes will break down all the starch or carbohydrates to sugar, all the proteins is converted now to amino acid, all the fats is converted into fatty acid and glycerol. So after complete digestion there will be no protein, all will be divided into amino acid. There will be no carbohydrate or starch, all will be converted into sugars, and there will be no fats, all the fats is converted into fatty acid and glycerol. So when these things are formed, they become very small particles and soluble form. So the complete digestion takes place inside the small intestine. So this part is over. Then small intestine, as I have told, it has also two functions. One is complete digestion, second is absorption of food. So after complete digestion, then food is absorbed into the blood, and for that the small intestine wall has, you know that the wall of the small intestine, it means, for example, this is a wall of small intestine. This is the outer wall. The inner wall is actually have the finger-like projection. You see, like this. And these are called, this is called villus, and many finger-like structures are there, hence they are called villi. So when the food is actually, these are the digested food, and the food is actually absorbed through the villus to the capillaries present in the wall. So if you will make, for example, if I will make the bigger one, this is a villi. Here what happens, this is the blood capillaries, and here the food is there. This is villus wall, and the food is here. So the now food is actually absorbed through the wall of the villus to capillary wall, and then this food is actually transported to the inside the blood. So absorption of food takes place inside the wall of small intestine. The inner wall has finger-like structure which are called villi, and through the villus wall the food is absorbed into the blood capillary or blood. So all the digested food present inside the small intestine is absorbed into the blood. So because it has a very long structure, so when the food is moving like that, when the food is moving slowly through this, so what happens, all the food is actually absorbed into the blood. So that is why the villus or villi is present. The main function of the villus is that food absorption takes place in the villus wall, as well as due to the finger-like structure or villus, the surface area for absorption of food becomes more. If the more surface area will be there, then more absorption will take place. That's why the main villus or the main function of villi are that they increase the surface area for absorption of food. Question comes, what are villi and what are their function? Villi or villus are the finger-like structures present in the inner wall of the small intestine, which are called villi, and these villi helps in increasing surface area for absorption of food. Actually the villus is also present in large intestine. Okay, it also helps in absorption of water in that case. So now after absorption of food, so all the digested food is absorbed inside the small intestine. So these two part is completed. Now after that what happens, the food, after complete digestion, the food is then comes to the large intestine. So inside large intestine, actually what happens, when the food is passed to the small intestine, from small intestine to large intestine, all the important or the digested food is absorbed. So now the undigested food and unabsorbed food is passed to the large intestine. So when the food is, the undigested and unabsorbed food is passed to the large intestine, and the food is simply again moves through this large intestine. This part is called colon. So during the passing of food through the colon, so the one main function takes place, that is the absorption of water takes place. Absorption of water. You know that in small intestine food absorption takes place, and in case of large intestine absorption of water is taking place. Means in that food, if the water is there, the water is absorbed into the blood. The same process is there. It has also the finger-like structure, villi. And also, so important, salts are also absorbed if it is present in the undigested and unabsorbed food. And finally, this unabsorbed and undigested food is moved to the rectum. Last part is called rectum. And in rectum, the now that food is actually waste food, because all the important thing is absorbed here, so that becomes the feces. So that food is temporarily stored in rectum, and finally it passes through the anus in the form of feces, which we call as stool. So that stool or feces is actually the undigested and unabsorbed food which you have, which is not absorbed, because when you take food, so that part of the food which is not absorbed into the blood, that is actually passed out through the anus in the form of feces or stool, which is known as egestion. That process is called egestion. So we have taken the ingestion takes place, digestion takes place, then the absorption takes place in small intestine, then after absorption the food is utilized in our body, that is assimilation, and finally the food is passed out through the anus in the form of feces, which is known as egestion process. Here also there is a sphincter, anal sphincter, means here also one, as I told, that sphincter is also there, which is known as anal sphincter, and this anal sphincter also regulates the passing out of feces or stool through the anus. So this is all about the different parts of the digestive system and what happens in each part of the digestive system. I think you will like this video, and thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you.